Hello, everyone. Welcome to Basecamp Office Hours. My name is Kimberly, and I work with 37 Signals, the makers of Basecamp. And hey, you might hear us say 37 Signals and Basecamp interchangeably. Basecamp, the company that makes both products, Basecamp and our email platform, Hey. We're so excited to have you with us today, joining us for this Office Hours session. So before we get started and I introduce some of my colleagues, a couple of housekeeping notes for you. First, on the right side of the screen, you'll see a couple of icons. The first one on the top right is the chat. I see a few of you have seen it already. In that chat window, let us know where you're from. We know we have users all over the world using Basecamp, but let us know in the chat where you're from so we can say hello. I am in Dallas. My colleague Ashley is in Arizona. Let us know where you're from in the chat. That chat section is something that we'll be looking at throughout this session. So definitely let us know if something resonates with you there. We love to get feedback. So we're not just talking into an abyss, and we can talk to some real people. Oh, I love it. Indiana, Brazil, Poland, Pennsylvania, Florida. Go Cowboys. Thank you. I love that. Sacramento, California. Thanks for joining us live. Just so you guys know, this session will be recorded. And this link that you came to sign up for this live session, both sign up and attend now, is where the recording will be later. So if you need to come back and watch anything that we've done today or need to send it to a colleague, this link is the same place that you're going to go back to. Okay, so you found the chat. Love that. Right below that is the Q&A section. So you will see some questions are already preloaded. I know some of you wrote in some questions when you registered. Some of you have been active this morning. That section is where you can ask any questions about how to use the Basecamp product. If you have questions about how we work at 37 Signals, we're going to be introducing one of our product designers. If you have any questions for him, that Q&A section is where you want to post those. So today we're going to do a couple of things. First, a little show and tell. I'll show you some of the new features that we have in the Basecamp product. For those of you who follow the 37 Signals philosophy, you know we work in 6-week cycles. So every 6 weeks, we are releasing new products into the product. And this time for Office Hours, we thought we'd show you some of those features. And then we have a product designer who's worked on some of those features who's going to kind of talk us through some of the things that they thought about and even the Basecamp projects they used to get those product features off the ground. So with that, the next person I'm going to introduce is a colleague of mine, Ashley. I'm going to bring Ashley up to the stage. She will be helping me throughout today's session. Ashley, hello. Tell us about you.
Hey, everyone. My name is Ashley. I'm on the support team here at Basecamp. I've been on the support team for about over 6 years now. And so a lot of what my day-to-day has to do with is speaking with you one-on-one. So if you find that you need some more individualized help after this session, I will be sending out an email. Myself and my colleagues, we will be able to help you with anything that comes up. So let us know what questions you have after this call.
Amazing. And you also probably got an email from Ashley already, just as a reminder for this session. So you know how you can get in touch with her if you need any extra help. One thing I didn't mention on that Q&A section, you can also upvote other people's questions. So if you see someone's question that you're like, oh yeah, I want to know the answer to that too, make sure to upvote it. So we'll kind of make sure we get those answered. We'll try to answer as many of the questions as we can in today's session. We'll spend about 45 minutes together, not only showing you the product, but then answering questions in that Q&A section. Okay, so our special guest is another colleague of ours, Dorin Vancea, who is a senior product designer here at 37 Signals. But before we bring him to the stage, I want to show you one of the features that he worked on this last cycle. So let's get that started.
Able to connect to other services in my Basecamp projects, but I'd really like to add my own image on the tile. It would help me better customize the links and make things much clearer for my clients.
We hear you, Glenn. And with this latest feature update, you can now add a custom image when you link to an outside product or service from inside your Basecamp account. When you open a door to an external service, you have the option to use the pre-populated image, or you can now upload one of your own. You have lots of options for the file type for your custom image, and it's easy to change back to the original at any time. Don't see the door you want to open in the list? That external service link at the bottom will do the trick. And now that you can add an image, it's even easier to identify what your custom link is for. Whether you want to link to a social media account, YouTube channel, or a shared spreadsheet, the custom image lets you personalize that link and keeps things more organized, making it even easier to make Basecamp your central hub for all your work. Thanks for your request. Got a feature request that will help improve your Basecamp workflow? If so, just email support@basecamp.com and we'll consider it. Thanks. Have a great day.
Let's bring him to the stage, Dorin Vancea. Dorin, welcome to our office hours. Thanks for joining us. Dorin, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about the button. Yeah, I've been told specific instructions to click on the button, but I didn't.
It always happens, don't worry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dorin. I'm based in the UK, just outside London. Joined Basecamp in the product team about 2 years ago. I actually have my anniversary next week. And yeah, previous to Basecamp, I've done a lot of consultancy. And well, the reason why I've joined Basecamp is because, since I found about them in like 2010 or something like that. Yeah, it's been a company that I always wanted to work for. Is the autonomy that I have in what I do, is the ownership that I get over, again, what I do, is the calm environment that, again, it's brilliant to have. And then, of course, people. It's like world-class people that I'm working with, that I'm learning a lot from. And then, yeah, it's such a great company to work for. Glad to be here. And yeah, thanks, Kimberly, for having me in the office hours.
Well, we're so excited. And that video that we just showed is one of the features that Dorin worked on for this last cycle. And we're going to go through a few of the features he's worked on. And then Ashley and I will show you some other features that some of the other designers worked on. Really quick, Dorin, if you'll go ahead and start sharing your screen, I'm going to drop in the chat right now our basecamp.com/learn section. Those videos are actually things that I work on at 37 Signals, educational videos to help you understand how the Basecamp product works. So similar to the video you just saw, there's lots of tutorials on different product features. And then really quick, I also want to pop up, someone wrote in a question, Chris from Chicago, is there a place where we can submit feature requests? And the answer is yes. That video has it at the very end, support@basecamp.com. If you have a feature request, you can email that group at support@basecamp.com, and we'll kind of keep track of it. We always are looking at what our customers are asking for, and some of those things get made into features every 6 weeks. Oh, Angela, I love that you love the Learn channel. That makes me really happy. Okay, Dorin, tell us what you're going to walk through with us today. One of the first features you worked on was how we improved creating projects, if I'm not mistaken.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we sure can.
Awesome. Yeah, so before I jump into the details of it, I thought it would be good to give you a breakdown on what does a typical project look like in our cycles. And I'm going to take you through the improved creating projects, the project that I'm going to talk in details about. But just to give you a breakdown of what we see on the screen in a project in a cycle. So what we have typically is a message board where we have the pitch. This is the pitch that usually Brian creates, is our head of product strategy. We then have to-dos, where of course we break down that pitch into more details. We then have Campfire, which is our day-to-day communication. Essentially, it's like a chat. And then of course we have card table, which is mostly used in this case for QA, which is quality assurance. And then of course we have all the doors that open up all the external services that we are using for each project. At the top, of course, we got the title, we've got who's on the project. So in this case, I'm on the design and Jose is on the programming. And of course, this project, this feature has shipped. And then we kind of edit the project and flag it when that was shipped. Below, we have the who's on the project. So these people are actively on the project. We've got Chase here who's out now. So we've got Jose, we've got myself and Brian. And then if you want to see all the other people, of course, you can set up people and look at who's following the project, actually. And then the difference between who's on the project and who's following the project is, of course, notifications. So if you are on the project, you're going to get notifications from, whoever posts in whatever tools, message, to-dos, Campfire, etc. as if you're just following the project, you're not going to get that many notifications. It's only when somebody mentions you in the project that you're going to be notified. I'm not going to go deeper in those details now. And then at the top, as you see here, the project started on June 26th and ended on July 21st. So this is the lineup feature. I'm going to take you through it in a bit more detail in a second. But yeah, so this is kind of like our typical setup for a project. And then, of course, if you want to add more tools, you can set up tools, go to the setup tools page. And then we have docs and files that I can add, schedule, automatic check-ins, email forwards. But in a cycle project, we don't really have those. We sometimes have schedule if we have calls, but not that many. Right, so improve creating projects. So let's deep dive into the pitch that Brian put together. So the way this is kind of sectioned, you usually start with the problem, and this can be, well, most of the time, not in this case, there's like customer insight, customer feedback, you know, or customer request. We then have the appetite. So we don't do deadlines or any other sort of measurements for projects. We do appetites, and then we kind of have a solution. I'm not going to go through in details on this because there's just so much to show you today. But what this basically is a, if you can imagine, I like the analogy of like a helicopter view. So you're like 10,000 feet up, looking down. This is kind of like, you know, this is the broad territory that you should play in. This is what we are kind of trying to solve here. So after this is created, what the designer or the programmer does, in depending on the project, is go through the to-dos and starts creating lists to kind of like take down that helicopter, take it down to like 5,000 feet view, or like even land it, right? So this is defining the scope for, you know, in granularity. So of course, all these to-dos are completed, as you can see.
And you guys really rely, I'm sorry, Dorin, to interrupt you. You guys really rely heavily on this hill chart feature, I feel like, when it comes to product development and features. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, so I was just about to touch on that, exactly. So each list, so when you create a new list, you'll get a list and a color for them. And then each of them, they have a different color, etc. And then, of course, you see those lists here on the hill chart. You can set up the hill chart by clicking on the this overflow menu, and you'll have a link set up hill chart over there. I think that's where it is. Let me just make sure. Oh, it's not there.
You have to make a to-do list first, and then you can set up the hill chart.
That's that. Yeah, so you have set up hill chart, and when you click on this, okay, it's a bit of intro. You can select which of those to-do lists you want to show on the hill chart, and then you will show the hill chart. And the way we use it is we don't really track progress through like almost like hard values. You can never do that really, and every time you're trying to do it, it's just not working as you planned. So the way we look at work is figuring things out, which is the first half of the hill. It's like almost like, you know, you go up the hill, it's hard, and then making it happen. You know what you need to do now. You see what's in front of you, right there on the hill. You see the horizon. It's like, I know what I need to do now. I need to make it happen. And the way, I mean, you probably know about this, like a design process where you research, then you design, then you build, then you ship. So we don't really use that here in a like a typical design, let's say, or like a product team. You would run through that process, but what we do instead is we kind of like in the figuring things out stage, we kind of do the research, the design, the exploration, and then once we know exactly what we need to do, then we move these and then we start making it happen. And the way you move them is simple. You just click update, and then you click and drag them around, right? And let's say if you drag them there, you can post an update, you can write, the progress that you've made, etc. You can email everyone on the project. You can email just the people that are on the project, or the people that are following it as well. You can select whoever you want to notify, or you can notify, or you can choose to notify nobody. So I'm going to discard this change because this is in our actual project. But one of the advantages of this is, like, if I'm clicking here on last updated 2 hours ago, and if I go down, you'll see how things progressed over time. So you see the date, you see the update, in this case that Jose made, and then going back in time, you see how the project evolved over time and on what date. So it's
That's
really
a great view to see it that way, Dorin. That's great. Ashley, I know, is a huge fan of hill charts, and she's dropped in the chat a link to our help guides with more information about hill charts in case you guys need that.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool, and I wish customers will use it more often. So if I'm jumping back to the project, another important thing is below everything, something that I forgot to mention, and it's like very valuable, is the project activity, where you have a timeline of all the updates that happen in the project, including chats, comments, etc. So this is another helpful tool to stay, up to date to what's going on. If you are like a manager, for instance, and you want to see what's going on in the project, you don't have to buzz people or chat with them, ping them. You can just come here and say, like, what progress have been made in that project. So yeah, it's another valuable tool to use.
Okay, while we're on hill charts, really quick, I'm going to jump to Christopher's question, which is, are there any plans to allow clients to see the hill chart feature? I actually honestly don't think I knew clients couldn't see the hill chart, to be honest. So
I don't know. I'll need to check. We do have a project rolling actually this cycle on improvements on the hill chart. So I need to look into that. I can't tell you for sure if the clients can or can't see it, and if they will be able to see them in the future.
Christopher, also just know this about our cycles. We work in 6-week cycles, and we don't even find out, like, even the designers don't find out what we're going to work on until the start of the cycle. So when people ask, like, are we going to do something 6 months from now? Like, literally, no, we don't know. So I would say, if that is something that is important to you, please send a feature request, like support@basecamp.com. That will help us, like, log what's important to customers. That's a great way for us to keep track of those sorts of things.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And it actually happened in our last cycle, where we kind of kicked off the cycle with 2 projects, one of them being improve creating projects, and there was another one. And this is why, figuring things out is so valuable, because we kind of like started figuring out, and by the time we kind of got here, so we spent like 3 days on it or something like that, we realized, oh, actually we can't really do this. So then we scrapped the project. We just didn't do it. We didn't commit it towards the end to figuring out, is this actually valuable or not? We in the almost like the research phase, in the like poking phase, poking the code, poking the design, we realized actually this is not, we can't really deliver this. I can't remember for what reason, but yeah. So it's nice to split it like that in figuring things out and making it happen.
And I think also the theory behind the hill chart was, like, not every to-do or task is created equal. So if you have 5 items on a to-do list, that doesn't mean once you check off one of them, you're 20% done with a project. So that hill chart kind of helps show where, even though you have all these tasks, where along the progress chart are you?
Yeah.
Thanks for showing that to us, Dorin.
Yeah, so going back to improve creating projects, let me show you how creating projects look like before. You probably remember it if you're an old-time Basecamp user. So this is the old version. And there are a few problems with this. And two important ones are that you can't really select tools from this screen. So you click on make a new project, you give it a name, you give it a description, you may add schedule, but then you can't really choose what tools you are using for that project. So that's something that we addressed in the new version, and it was one of the main issues. And then the other one was you can't really add people to this project either. So you kind of have to create the project, then go into the project, then go to set up people, then add people. It's just too much work. So these are two of the main things that we try to address with this new make a new project. And let me show you how it looks like today. So now when you click make a new project, you do have that same kind of generic information, basic information at the top. So let's say new project, house remodel, add the description. I found the nice description, brew something strong, double cup for the new office remodel. Let's add the schedule. So let's say it started this Monday, and then let's say it's gonna end, maybe Sunday the 8th. And then see, you have tools here now. So on the previous screen, on the previous version, you didn't have this. And many people totally missed this, and they thought that all the projects that they create, they are like standard with the set tools from the beginning, like the default tools. And that's not true. They can change them. So in this case, let's say we have message board, to-dos, docs and file, campfire. We don't really need card tables for now. We can add it later. And then you can choose who's on the project. And this is one of the quirks here as well, and one of the things that was not necessarily challenging, but just a, something to consider, was that there's so many states for this. Depending on how big your company is, you will see a different interface. And then let me show you exactly what those states are. These are all the states for that bottom third part of the screen. So if your account is less than 10 people, you're going to see this interface where you can pick and choose people. If your account is has more than 10 people, then you have the auto fill, which is working. Oh, I keep going back to my default browser. So you've got this screen where you can type, and you get people in the list, right? But if going back, if you have only 10 people, like, you want to see them, right? It's nice to see your colleagues and then click and select them rather than having to type their names all the time. So it's make it easier for companies with less than 10 people in their account. And then of course you've got all the edge cases where you select template, but then there's no people in the template. So of course you have to show something different. You have a template that has people, but that's a different state because you can't change people if you select the template. You've got a use case where you are a new user, but there's no people in the account, of course. So then that's a different state. So it's all these different states are included, but then of course the end user doesn't see them all. You only see it in your context. And then of course you can add an invite note. Hello world. So all of these people will get that invite note with the project invitation. It's all looking good. And then you can create this project.
And what you used to have to do is there would already be 5 tools automatically. You had to go to that 3-dot menu at the top right, change your tools. It's very nice now, Dorin, that it's all at one setup.
Yeah, so exactly how you describe it. So before, the project was created after let's going back to the old one. So let's say you type office remodel at the top, you create the project, then you would land here, then you would have to go here, set up tools, enable the tools that you want, go back to set up people, set up the people you want, etc. So it was a lot of hard work, and we simplified all that.
Yeah. And Christopher just noted in the chat, one of the features he really loves is that you can add multiple tools. So right here on the screen, that 3-dot menu, Dorin, if you'll pop on that, if you go to set up tools, you can duplicate tools. You can have 2 message boards, 2 to-do lists with that add another link at the bottom. If this is something I would recommend, and Ashley, jump in at any time, I would recommend, if you're always having 2 message boards on every project that you do, make a template for it. Like anything that you do repeatedly, templates are the way to go. I feel like they're a little bit underutilized in Basecamp, but it is my go-to for all things repetitive. Do it once, do it right, create a template, and you can just spin up a template.
Yeah, and you can always, if your template is very built out, if you have scenarios, for to-do tools, to do situation A, B, and C, you can build all that out in your template, create the new project from that template, and then toggle any situation that doesn't apply right now off. So you'll still have that information. It just won't be in the way while you work on that initial piece.
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick demo of the template in a second as well, just to show you how it works. So this is a good example. So we have schedule. So let's say this is builders, or like, what should we call it? Delivery. Let's say delivery. So we are doing a house, an office remodel. We're going to have delivery schedule. Let's just call it schedule. And have contractors, calls. You can have as many as you want. And the same for to-dos, same for message boards. And if I'm going back to office remodel here, you'll see that I have 2 schedules here. And they are completely separate. They have, separate notifications, all that stuff. So it's really easy to organize your project like that. And then of course you can drag these around to organize them as you want. So you might want, delivery there, contractors there, whatever.
Vanessa, I'm sending you help guide and a video about templates in the chat.
Yeah, and project templates, they're really easy to create. So if you go again to make a new project, go to choose a project template, and then in this case, there's Honcho onboarding. So Honcho is our internal design agency, fake account just to demo stuff to people. So in this case, Honcho onboarding. And then if I want to edit these templates, I'll just click on edit templates. I've got that Honcho onboarding there, or I can create a new one. So this is a template, this template. And then I'm setting up the template in the same way that I'm setting up a project, essentially. So if I'm going to change tools or rename tools, I can again add contractors calls, schedule, let's say delivery, save, going back to the template. Yeah, this is good to go. So what I can do now is either move home and then, work on other projects, etc. And then when I'm coming back to make a new project, choose a new template, I've got a new template there. I can give it a new name, of course. So let's say house remodel. On my tools, so this is what's different about when you select the template. You can't really choose your tools from here. They're already locked, but of course you can choose them after you create the project. And then in this case, there's nobody on the project. So this is one of the states that I've just showed you before. So if I create this project, I'm gonna hang tight, you'll see that the template is created. And then of course, again, if I want to change the tools now, I can go to setup tools and, disable to-dos. And that's that. And then I can create these projects from templates as many times as I want. That's many projects that I have.
Dorin,
yeah, so that's kind of like the breakdown of making a new project in improved version 2.0.
New and improved. And that was one of your cycle projects. And then I think you're going to show us one of your quick win projects, maybe, or a couple of them.
Yeah, so let me show you the. Okay, so let me go to Office Remodel. I'll add a few doors just to show you the images in doors. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Excellent. So I'm doing an Office Remodel, and of course I'm going to need some inspiration. So what I can do is again to set up some doors. I hope you set up some doors before. This is how it works. You open a door to an external service. And this can be one of the services that we have in this list, or it could be an external service, which could be anything. So in this case, let's add some inspiration from Arch Daily. I'm not sure if you know the website. It's like an architecture magazine. So let's say we like this office, like a good image. I like it. Let's do something like that. We can go to tools. I'll paste the link there and just say concrete office. I can add the description, which I can, I'll just copy it from here and just add it there. And then I can select a new image. So what I can do here is when I'm clicking on select new image, I'll just go on my desktop where I have all my folders, etc. So I can select an image from to show as a door. Right. So this is what is custom to this feature. So there's few ways to go around this. So let's say I want to grab that logo and put it in my door image. I could actually go zoom in and screen grab that. And there's a number of ways which you can do that, both with Mac and with Windows. But let's say that's one way. There's another way. I can go to Google, say Arch Daily. So if I go on images, just select logo, and get the logo from here. So I grab this, right click, save image, save it to downloads. Yes. Let's say that works. Then I can go to select image, and I've got it there. It's the one that I've downloaded. If I'm clicking save changes, I've got that door added. So that's there. Got the title, you've got the link, and then if you open up, it will open up the link that I've just pasted in there. And then of course, you know, Pinterest is another common one where you can add a list, add a board, for instance. You can create a board on Pinterest. You can add Instagram. You can add whatever links you want with whatever image you want. And then of course,
one of the things. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say one of the things that I love about being able to add a custom image is if you have two similar doors, you can better identify them. For example, Dorin, your Pinterest example, if you had two different Pinterest boards that you wanted to link in a project, you don't have to have two Pinterest logos. One could be a picture of a couch and one could be a picture of lamps or whatever you're trying to connect to. So it really helps you customize those projects.
Yeah, exactly. So when I'm saying images, you can literally add whatever images you want. So sofa on white background. So you can add literally a sofa. Right, let's add the IKEA. Save image. If I'm going here, select new image. Let's say I'm adding a Pinterest. I'm gonna add IKEA now because I've got the link. And if they say sofas, save changes, you've got your sofas there. And if you add it, the description as well. So going to house remodel, you have them here, and then of course again you can shift these as you please to keep your project organized. And then again, you can use this in project templates, if I'm not mistaken. Just check. Yeah, you can open the doors in the templates as well. So if you have a project that you're using, you know, for like let's say Figma links, like I've just showed you, for design tools or any other tools, Excel, Microsoft, etc. You can add them to the project templates, and every time you create them, they will be created for you as well. And then to change the link, you can come to the project after the project was created, set up tools, and then edit the door to change the link. Then you change the link, save changes, and then your images will stay there, but the link will be different because it's a different project. So it's really flexible in that way.
And this is a feature customers have been asking for. It's one of those things that we had logged, like on the support side, people wanted this feature and we knocked it out this last cycle. Dorin, I do want to move forward to steps on cards. That's one of the features that you did this last cycle so that we have enough time to get through the questions that we have.
Yeah.
So let's show that new feature, steps on cards, and if you want to walk us through kind of the iterations that went through that.
Yeah. So steps on cards are cards in card table. So in this project, I don't have card table enabled. I came to set up the tools. I'm going to enable card table. I have it there. Okay. I'm going to go into the card tables. My new card. I'll just create a new card. Create a couple of cards. And then, of course, each of these cards have steps. So this is almost like another level of granularity on top of the card itself. So step 1, let's add 2 steps here, and then in the other one, step 3. Cool. So now if I'm going back to triage or back to card table, you'll see that you see those steps there. Those weren't there before, and this is a project that I tackled in the cool down. So going back to how we are running projects, we have six weeks cycle project, and then we have 2 weeks of cool down where you can take whatever project you want, and we do have I'm not sure if I should show this, but I'm gonna try. We do have a voice of customer, where we have a huge amount of requests from all the customers. So these are full of documents from customers, requests, feedback, etc. So in the cool down, what you can do is just go there and pick whatever you want and solve the problem, essentially, design a solution. So this is something that I've done in my last cool down, which actually just ended, I think, last week or the week before. And I really enjoy working on this. And let me take you through how it actually flows in reality. So, okay, I have a link. Steps in cards. Yeah, so this is like I said, from the voice of customer in Basecamp and in card table. So this is raised by Jane. And it's basically a stream of customer requests. This is me added to my backlog. Thanks for sharing. So I have notifications for all this when something comes in. If it looks like I can do it myself without the help of a programmer, I'll just flag it and tackle it in the cool down. Then we have Sasha here saying another suggestion from a customer, how it might look like, etc. Even like screenshots, and like some customers even provide us with the actual solution themselves. Like, look here, it's a nice solution, this one. And then what I did in the cool down, like I said, is just start tackling this, and then included the steps. Let me just zoom in. So I added them like this. So it would stay like steps, and then colon, 2 out of 5 completed. Yeah, I pushed it to a beta locally, and then flagged 2 of my colleagues, Brian and Jason, to let them know, like, what do you think about this? This is a solution. And then Jason, Jay-Z got back and said, what if you include a tick box and put them on the bottom right? Then yeah, good idea. Then Brian stepped in. He said that he was on the fence about this, just because the cards can get quite busy, and he had a point. But in truth, people are actually missing those cards. Give me another example from that he believes could work. Again, Jason Fried stepped in, said, the ticks on the right-hand side would work quite nice because we already have this in the to-dos, and like you probably have seen that in the project, you have like an all done stamp. If all the to-dos are completed, it's all done. So it's kind of like similar in spirit with that. And then yeah, more cheering. Yes, of course, all good. So then I thought I'm going to take it one step further and say, if all the steps are completed, I'm going to make the text and the tick box green. And then if it's not completed, I'm just going to leave it like grayed out like that. So that worked well. I've put it on beta 12 again for people to check it out in actually real environment. But then Brian played with it, and Brian played with it and discovered that if you have many steps, and of course the steps, they have different width, the numbers, and then of course the icons were not aligned. And here's a good example of, how this can go wrong. So this is how we ended up having the steps on the left just after the text rather than having them on the bottom right. And this is something that everybody loved, and it was shipped, and it's done. And then Brian provided another detailed view while testing it out of how it looks like with different metadata for the card. So here you have dates, here you don't have dates and don't have steps, here you have steps. This is completed, this is not completed. So hopefully this is, and what is nice about, the way we work in Basecamp is that all this stream of thinking, all these, solution problems, etc., they all sit in one stream here in the comments area. We don't jump between different projects, different files, different messages, etc. It's all one stream. And if you want to find out the background about this, you can just go through it and read it. You don't need to call anyone. You don't need to buzz anyone about it. You can just go through it, and it's easy to follow. So yeah, hopefully this gives you a breakdown of how product develops essentially in how we work at Basecamp.
Dorin, that was a wonderful walkthrough. I'm gonna switch screens for just a bit. I'm gonna have Ashley share her screen. We're gonna show a couple of other new product features from the last cycle. We're gonna walk through those fairly quickly just to give you an idea of what we've been working on and what you'll see currently in your Basecamp account that's new. And then we'll knock out some of these questions in the time that we have left. So as Ashley said, she does one-on-one demos with customers. So if you need a follow-up after this session, we'll put the email address in the chat in just a bit, and we'll put it on the screen so you know how to get some additional help. So Ashley, where do you want to start? Public folders? What are you thinking?
Yeah, public folders makes a lot of sense to me. If you are not aware, there is an option for paid accounts only, where you can share a public link of anything in Basecamp. There is a caveat, so we'll get to that. Because I haven't spoken in a minute. Excuse me. But when you're here, what it used to be is that if I would click on this particular PDF file, I could share just this PDF file with someone outside of Basecamp using what we call a public link. And so when I click on this, when I generate this link, I'm now able to share it with anyone else in the world, and they're able to download this file. And what they're not able to do is, let me go back to it, see any comments. So any of these things happening here, maybe I've done this before, any of these things happening are going to be logged internally, but you won't see that when you scroll to the bottom of this public link. And so the limitation previously used to be that you had to do this individually. If you wanted to share multiple PDFs, multiple files of any type from Basecamp, you'd have to do it on a one-by-one basis. But recently, our team has decided we are going to make it possible so that this entire folder can be made, can be given a public link. So now you don't have to do it one by one. When I click on this and share it, my goodness, there they all are. And then you have the option to download that folder now. So actually two things kind of happen with this, but your choices are much clearer.
Amazing. And that has been something that was also highly requested by customers looking to share, think brand assets. I want to send a company logos and fonts and our company colors and send it to them all at one time through Basecamp without having to send individual files. So
yep.
That
and then
is
this is
a game changer.
A gentle reminder about this. An account owner will have the option to always click on admin land at the top right-hand side of their page, go down to the section in orange, and then manage what public items are even out there. So if it feels like this could get a little unwieldy, there is just a nice option to turn off all public links or go to each one individually and make sure that things feel as private as they need to or as public as they need to.
Amazing. Another feature that we just released this last cycle is the Hey menu and some updates how @ mentions are shown. Ashley,
Right.
I have just mentioned you, so you
I
have
had saved
something to
some from
show.
you previously as well. So in the past, what would happen here is that this would kind of blend in with all of your other notifications. So anything that's new for you, while still a very helpful section, it would be a little bit difficult to determine, all right, if someone is mentioning me, it likely merits my attention. Either something is being assigned to me or I need to just be aware of what's happening in this conversation. So we wanted to group them all together a little bit more and highlight it a lot more here so that we have a way to see Kimberly has mentioned you in this particular thing. So when I click on it, it takes me directly to that space. And you know what? Yes, I can. I can check on this and you can kind of carry on with the rest of your day. This section is just going to be blended within that new for you section. It doesn't change the don't forget section or the previous notification. So we hope that just makes everything a little bit clearer for you.
Amazing. Okay, we're going to jump to questions. And Christopher, I accidentally showed yours on the screen earlier, but we're going to do that one now, which is when you have multiple schedules and multiple to-dos, how those things get routed.
Yep.
So his question is, if there are two schedules, which one gets a reminder when you set up a task, or do I get to choose? And this is actually not this last cycle, but maybe 2 cycles ago is when this update was made to how things are routed.
So what I've done here, I have a to-do list with 2 items on there. And before I make any changes to anything else, I wanted to show you that automatically it goes into both schedules if you have 2 enabled. So your tasks, your dated cards, your steps with due dates, any of those things are going to show up on all of your schedules in that project. But this is where you can kind of clean things up a little bit. So I want to change this one to an events only schedule. And that is the link that I shared with you over chat. And so it's going to tell you that you can choose what to show by clicking on that 3-dot menu and then switching over to events only. And we'll see those 2 items be eliminated from this schedule. And that is as kind of specific as we can get with it. We can't kind of, pick, is it schedule A, B, or C? It's just either schedules that have those tasks and dated events all together, or it's just events only. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit.
I also especially like this because you can choose which of these schedules you're subscribed to. So if you just wanted to be subscribed to your scheduled events and have that show up on your personal calendar, you can do that and not have your to-dos and tasks show up in your personal calendar. So that separation makes that helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Okay, we're going to go to a question posed by Angela. Oh, and Angela's here. Are there plans to add steps to to-dos? My team is currently experiencing great challenges tracking tasks with dependencies. The card tables feature isn't really addressing our issue because there's no way to set up automatic notifications of assignment to the next person in line. So I'm going to go back to what I said earlier is we don't really know what's happening more than 6 weeks in advance. So I can't tell you if we're adding steps to to-dos. Mm-hmm. I do know that we have had some customer requests for that, but we do have some workarounds that I think we can show you to see if maybe they answer your question for now.
Yeah, definitely. So if I have these to-dos and it kind of feels like an unwieldy list, I can select any of them and I can group them together. So within this group, maybe this is how I indicate this is kind of whoever needs to get this done first. So person A needs to just kind of sort this out, and then we can move on to person B. So there is a way to kind of at least get a little bit more distinction between these steps so that it's not just one list, like one chunk of list items. You can break it down into these different pieces. And that can help. And so can, of course, notifying the next person when something is done. So if it is my job to kind of handle the writing of something, and I don't think I'm on here, but we'll put a character, maybe Kimberly handles the design afterwards. And so it's best for me to include Kimberly as the when done, notify this person so they know they've kind of got the green light to move on with their work. So that way if Kimberly is handling step 3, and I check this off, Kimberly gets a notification and then can begin work on step 3. There is also, I know there's a mention of card table. I want to be sure that we are seeing, let me go to one that already has a card table.
Yeah, and I think Angela's question about card table is, are there plans to add dependencies to card table? So when someone completes a task, the next in line person gets notified that they can begin their portion of the task. There are some notifications in card table. It doesn't automatically assign you a task, but we can show you how you know when something has moved on to the next stage of the process.
Right. And so again, so if we're looking at, for example, we need someone to be notified that something is ready for launch beyond myself. I can actually add and remove, let's put Kimberly again, let's put you on here and I will save the changes. And this way, Kimberly is now watching this particular column. And what happens when I move this over into the column that she's watching is that she'll get a notification. And so that will kind of indicate to the next person because that it's okay for them to move on with whatever's happening in this space. And so what I've seen in the past is some people even change these from, this is team number 1 or team A, and then this is team number 2. And so as it moves from left to right in that progression, you have different teams notified about the work being moved to, their attention now.
Angela, hopefully that workaround helps. And again, if you need more one-on-one help from us, just email that guides@basecamp.com. Okay, question from Lindsay. We produce 4 different types of events: art exhibitions, source art from artists, do research, sell art, and so much more. I need help finding a way to better set up our projects and templates to cut redundancy and increase efficiency. Ashley, I think this may be a hit us up one-on-one, but maybe we can just go through templates, changing tools. What do you think?
I think that would be my best choice. I'm just a huge fan of templates. And so that is clicking on make a new project and then clicking on choose a project template and editing those, right? And so maybe we have one that is specifically for that type of work, whatever else it is. And you can decide, and we can also decide together and talk through these tools and what your team needs. We can talk through what makes the most sense. As for some things, maybe we have quite a lot of messages to kind of get through, or maybe we know we're inviting a client to this space, or we have volunteers, so I'm going to set up a door. So you have a lot of options and a lot of variation to make it so that these projects work for you specifically and for whatever it is your situation is. Maybe I want my client to field their questions in here instead of in Campfire. So we can adjust these and change the categories in these message board posts in advance if we want to, from what's the default to whatever works for you and your team. So broadly, templates, to-do list templates, changing your tools, and kind of getting to the core of what it is you and your team really need is going to be the foundation of it. And so again, if you want to talk through that, it's guides@basecamp.com, but I will send you an email later.
Perfect. And I also just redropped into the chat a link about project templates. They're a little hidden in Basecamp. And so I think that video really walks you through exactly where to find it, how to change them, and to-do templates are also mentioned in that video as well. So that should be an answer to Vanessa's question. Okay, let's go to Christopher. He has a couple of questions about languages. Considering that Basecamp currently operates in English only, how does the platform plan to overcome language barriers for its international expansion, especially in regions where English isn't widely used? Christopher, what I will say about this, and again, I can't tell you about anything happening in the future. Our kind of international plan has been one recent. We were just seeing a lot of customers from India, particularly based on some social media influencers who are fans of Basecamp, who just naturally talked about the product, and we got an influx of Indian customers. So we have done some pricing specials for India, just recently started one with Brazil, but this international outreach is very new for us. Basecamp is only in English. I don't know that that will ever change, but just know that this international thing is new. So who knows what the future will hold, but currently English is the only language for the product.
What I will add here is that since it is currently in English, all the fields can handle a lot of different languages and a lot of different formats. And so if you are working in a different language, instead of saying type of work, you can say tipo de trabajo, and so you can change your tools in advance. Instead of message board, you can just put email or, whatever else it is that you want to indicate in your language. And so if projects are started from that point, then they'll have your language kind of baked into it. There is that core English function, but it does help.
Yeah. And Christopher, I think the same answer to the question about China and when we'll focus on that market. I mean, this is all new for us, kind of focusing on that international market, and really came about organically. So who knows what will happen in the future, but that's kind of where we are now. It's focused on those 2 countries where we've seen an influx of customers. Okay, I'm going to go to Heather's question. How can we set up a task that will show all the different pieces sequentially without having a full to-do list for each individual email for every different project? I don't know that I understand that question. Set up a task that will show up all the different pieces sequentially without having a full to-do list for each individual email for every project. Heather, you've stumped us, or at least you've stumped me.
I'd love to know more. I feel like there are details kind of brimming there at the surface.
Put it in the chat if there's a detail that we're missing about this.
Or if you just want to talk about it one-on-one, I can also do that too.
It sounds like something that could be solved with card tables.
Tell me more, Dorin.
Something that has like a progression with the card table.
Yeah, so when you're thinking sequence, I think card table is the best for that, because the things move from left to right. You can create as many columns as you want. And, in that sequence, you can name the columns however you want. So, this is a good example, team A, team B, ready for lunch. So when you drag a card in one of those columns, you basically move it in the sequence forward. So maybe to-dos are not the best tools for that use case.
Yeah, I think card table, we're on the same page about that. We get a lot of questions about like, when should I use to-dos versus when should I use the card table? I think internally we think of to-dos as just like one thing, it's done. Like it's either done or it's not done. Like it's checked off and it's done. Card table is like, it has things to do, or there's a progression. So something like that where there are some dependencies or things that have to happen in a certain order. Dorin, I think you're absolutely right that card table is the way to go. Okay, I'm going to knock out a few more questions before we wrap up. It's almost the top of the hour. Let's see. Okay, Vanessa, I think we got to this, but since Ashley loves the hill chart, I'll let her answer that. Does the hill chart update automatically based on items that are completed, or do you have to move the dots yourself?
I really do love a hill chart. It is because it's not automatic is part of why I like it. So the reason is that should all of these different cloud file types not be checked off, I don't want it to feel like it's still over here at the very beginning of this race. It is, and it feels like it's very much in the middle because we've dealt with all of this before. And so having that kind of variability gives you a lot of opportunity to be able to say, when I'm moving this around, all right, we just, like we may have checked off one thing in particular, but this is where it feels like we are. So it doesn't move automatically, and that was by design. That way, when I save this update, everyone is kind of aware of why. So they can't see, for example, only 22 out of 40 tasks completed and make assumptions about it. The truer version of how things are feeling and how this is moving is going to be on the hill chart. So not automatic, but by design.
Perfect. And then Christopher, your question, has there been any enhancement in the functionality of playing audio files that are dropped onto Basecamp? Specifically, I'm referring to the ability to play MP3 or M4A files directly within the platform. We don't know what we're going to do in the future more than just 6 weeks in advance, but I will say we just added the ability to embed Loom videos. If you know, in Basecamp, if you drop a YouTube link, it just like loads directly into Basecamp, which is lovely. We just added that feature with Loom. All that to say, we're constantly improving the product. So I don't know and can't speak to any updates on MP3s or playing audio files, but just know, I always like to say, like, the Basecamp that you've bought into is the worst Basecamp you'll ever have, because we're constantly adding to it. We're constantly improving, which is great. And then before we wrap, I'm going to answer one last question, which is, how often do you all hold office hours? And the question is, we don't really have a set schedule. So Ashley and I have been scheduling office hours since, February. We just started earlier this year. They've been very well received. If you are enjoying them, when you get an email from Ashley, please let her know. Hit reply, let us know it's something that you enjoyed so that we can keep them going. We obviously want to have people who are engaged and are excited to be here, but we don't want to do them too often. So let us know if it's something that you have found valuable, and we'll keep them going. You can always find mentions of them on our Twitter, now X. Also, LinkedIn is where we post any of those updates about when we are doing those new sessions. Last thing before we wrap up, and I know it's the top of the hour, y'all are busy and you want to go. We do have a Basecamp community. If you're a Basecamp user and want to hang out with other Basecamp users, we started a Basecamp community last year, I believe, yes, last year. I put a link to information about that if you're interested. It's a fill out some information, and there's, I think, more than 1,000 people in that group now who are always sharing their use cases, tips and tricks. It's really a great place to be. Also, sometimes people drop in with little sneak peeks of things that we're working on, which is actually very fun. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, Dorin, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's been a delight. As I mentioned a couple times, if you need more help, if you feel like you need some one-on-one time, you have additional questions that we didn't get to, there was a couple we didn't get to, please send us an email, guides@basecamp.com. That gets to Ashley and her team. If there's anything that you just want to ask us a question about, definitely hit us up. Real people answer those. We are not robots and are happy to help you. So with that being said, as a reminder, this is recorded. If you want to forward this to any of your colleagues, please do. And until next time, thank you for joining us. You guys have a great rest of your day.